Hey guys, this is Steve at Cookout Coach, and if you've been thinking about getting a Char grill at Akorn or a 26-inch Weber kettle with a slow and sear, this is the right video for you. Y'all hang out. Recently in one of my videos, I had a viewer ask me to do a fuel efficiency comparison between the 26-inch kettle with the slow and sear and the Char grill at Akorn. Of course I said I would, but I figured if I'm going to go ahead and do that comparison, I might as well just compare these grills all the way around, and at the end, I'm going to tell you if it was my $400, which grill I'd go with. So the first category we're going to compare is size, and that may seem like we have a landslide winner considering we're comparing a 26 and a 3/4 inch Weber kettle to a Char grill at Akorn that comes with about a 20-inch cast iron grate. But you've got to remember that out of the box, the Char grill at Akorn also comes with that expansion shelf. It's also not as close as you think because you have to remember that on that Weber kettle, roughly a third of your cooking space, if you're not cooking direct, is taken up by that slow and sear. That being said, I still think the size comparison is all going to come down to what sort of meats you want to cook. If you want to cook like a big 18-pound brisket, I think you're going to have a lot easier time trying to do it on the Weber kettle. However, with that expansion rack, if you're cooking something say like chicken wings or something small that can be maneuvered around and sort of placed carefully, you might have an easier time on the Akorn. Either way, I can tell you that I can comfortably put 3 pork butts on either of these grills. A fourth would be a push. So they're roughly, you're getting about the same amount of size. Again, it's going to go down. If you want big meats, I'd say the Weber kettle probably wins. If you're cooking a lot of smaller things, you know, with that expansion rack that comes with it, that Akorn just might be your huckleberry. So for a second comparison, let's talk about fuel efficiency. So for this one, because I don't have all the time in the world to do this, I went ahead and loaded up the slow and sear and the Akorn both with 28 briquettes of Kingsford Professional Charcoal. I lit them off and I brought them both up to 250. More importantly than what temperature I was setting at really, I made sure they stayed within about 8 degrees of each other the entire time. Now, the Weber kettle did great. You got to figure that's a big chamber to keep heated at that. So there are several variables here. I know this isn't the most scientific thing, but we did what we could. The Weber stayed at that 250 mark and didn't drop below 240 until 2 hours into the cook. At that point, I stoked the coals, but I couldn't get it to recover back up over that 250, so I called it at 2 hours. Now the Akorn, you know, this is what Kamados do. They are extremely fuel efficient. So it went 2 hours, then it went 3 hours, then it went 4 hours, then it went 6 hours, and by then it was 11 o'clock at night and I was tired. So what I did was I took a little video. You could see just how much was even unburnt left in there, and I shut it down because we all knew that was going to happen, but the question was just by how much. It's a Kamado. It does two things extremely well. One, it holds temperatures, it's extremely fuel efficient, and two, it gets to those crazy high temps. That's just what it does. So for the fuel efficiency contest, it goes to the Char grill at Akorn, no questions asked. Our third comparison that we're going to look at today is how easy are these things to use. If you go back and reference my video when I got the Char grill at Akorn, I knew that there was a learning curve with Kamado. And really, it's not terribly bad, but the one thing that will still get me to this day if I'm not on top of my game is once you overshoot a temperature with this, it takes a while to come back down. And when I overshoot temps on it, I overshoot them by like 100 degrees. It doesn't take long for this Akorn to get away from you. That to me is the hardest thing to do, is to learn how to maintain a lower temp. When I say lower temp, I'm talking even 250 will get away from you quicker than you think. Now, the Weber kettle, on the other hand, it's not as an efficient grill, which, you know, lost us our last comparison. However, in the ease of use, if I overshoot with this Weber kettle, within 5 minutes, I can be back down to where I need to be. And with the slow and sear, you know, it's super easy. You've got everything organized for you. You've got a direct side, you've got an indirect side, you've got a water trough, you're cooking a big meat. It's, you know, it's plug and play almost. If you have any experience at all with a charcoal grill, you can pick up this Weber kettle, you can fill up your slow and sear, and you can monitor some temps and get there no problem. And if you miss to one side or the other, you know, if you're too hot, you can cool it down real quick. If you're too cold, you can amp those temps up real quick. It's super easy to modify. Controlling temps on the Akorn, a little bit more finicky. So for this comparison, I say the Weber kettle with the slow and sear wins all day. For our fourth and final comparison, the most important question: is there a difference in the quality of the food that we produce? So if y'all have been following my channel for long, you know I just finished up competing in my first ever barbecue competition. And you know that I'd been building to that point for a long time. In fact, it's one of the primary reasons I got the Char Akorn in the first place. I wanted to take a Kamado down to compete with because I thought they were so cool, and they are definitely so cool. However, as I was doing my final preparations, I had limited space to get down there, and I just got this Weber. I started cooking chicken on both of them at the same time. And really, when you break it down, how you're getting that smoke flavor into the meat between these two grills is pretty much the same. You know, we're using charcoal as our primary heat source with wood chunks to get that smoke flavor. And honestly, I couldn't taste the difference to the point where I took the Weber Kettle down to the competition and I cooked chicken on it, and we took second place out of 14 teams. Teams that were running 270 smokers, teams that were running giant offsets. It cooks good food. And I can tell you that it tastes just like the food that I could produce on the Akorn. You know, it wasn't a magic box. Neither of them were. They were both a reflection of what I could do or what you, the cook, can do. And they'll both allow you to cook the same caliber of food. So this one's a draw, guys. So moment of truth. Push to shove, roughly $400. Which grill do you go with? For me, it's going to be that 26-inch Kettle with the slow and sear all day. It's a tough choice, but every time I think about it, I go back to that Kettle. I can do 95% of the things I want to do with a Kamado, but it's just so much easier to use that Kettle with the slow and sear. Now, that being said, if you're versed in Kamados, or you want to become versed in Kamados, the Akorn is an amazing unit. It's just a little tougher. Now, that being said, I get the same quality cooks on both. You know, this one can do some things that this one can't, and this one with that slow and sear can do some things that this one can't. But for me, my $400, I can only pick one. It's going in this camp all day. So that's a cook for today. I hope this helps you if you were thinking about getting one of these two barbecues. I love them both. You know, I said I'd pick the Weber, but if I could only have the Akorn, I'm not mad at that either. I just happen to be lucky enough to own both. In fact, at a recent potluck at work, I went ahead and I had to cook some pork butts overnight. And just without question, because I knew what it could do, I threw them on this Char Akorn at midnight, went to sleep, got up to check them every hour, but just to spritz them in and re-season them. It sat down right at about 280. I was super happy with that. It did fantastic. It did exactly what it's supposed to do. That's not saying that the Weber Kettle couldn't do that, but I just played to my strengths. I happen to have this Akorn. It did that well. The next time I make a steak, you better believe I'm going to pull out this Weber Kettle, and I'm going to Dave Parrish cold grate technique that beast. But if you have a question I didn't answer, please hit me up in the comments, hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you can get a hold of me and ask me you want to talk about barbecue. I'd love to talk about barbecue with you. But yeah, till next time, y'all take it easy.